It's Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the Monster Magic Saturday Show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Good morning. Yes, it's Saturday once again. Luckily, the weather has cooled off a little bit, and we even had some rain, and my boat survived. So no leaks, which is always good news. Always makes me nervous when it rains. I have a great variety of products from a wide range of creators today. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. First up is Albo 2.0. Yes, 2.0. Twice as good as the original Albo, no doubt. This is a Michael Ammar, Justin Miller collaboration from Ellusionist. And it is, well, as Michael Ammar says, his favourite card trick. Michael Ammar is a legend in the world of magic. I grew up watching his DVDs and with his book, the Magic of Michael Ammar, a brilliant book, well worth checking out if you can get it. I think it's out of print, but if you can get his easy to master card miracles, they are full of wonderful card magic, and you'll learn a lot of sleights and all of the basic moves from that. This is a very, very good Torn and Restored. Torn and Restored is such a popular plot. It has been done by many, many people, and sometimes it requires quite a lot of moves. It can be overcomplicated. It can look a bit fishy. This is surprisingly quick, easy to do, and there doesn't seem to be any extraneous odd moves going on. I really, really like it. I was really, really surprised. What I like about this is that it's a signed selection that gets restored, and in the quirky way, it gets restored back to front. So you tear a corner off. It's just a corner that comes off. It's not a four-piece restoration like perhaps Beyond Reform or all of the more or lots of the other torn and restored tricks. It's just one corner that gets torn off. But both get signed. The corner gets signed by you. The bigger piece gets signed by the spectator, and you then restore it. But you restore it so that the corner goes on back to front, and then they get given this lovely, impossible object to keep. Very, very nice. And like I say, the moves aren't difficult. You do obviously have to force the card that's going to be torn up, and Michael teaches that. It's a very simple under the spread force, taught very, very clearly by Michael himself. You see Michael perform this himself. He does a couple of performances, and when he does it, it's a two-phase routine. He starts off with a trick called Torn and Amazed, which is another Torn and Restored effect with a signed card. That gets given to the spectator to keep, and he then goes into doing the Albo version of Torn and Restored. And that's really, really nice. I'd like the idea of giving out two objects, both being torn, both being restored, and it also gives you a little bit of value for the money and creates a longer routine. He teaches Torn and Amazed, which is the first section. It's very simple, teaches you how to make the gimmicks. You can do it with any deck of cards. Obviously, you'll need some duplicates, but that is it. So that's a great bit of added value right there. If you want to do a simple Torn and Restored, then Torn and Amazed is well worth considering. And that is, you know, it's given away free, ostensibly, with this trick. Albo 2 is the trick that requires the gimmicks. And let me talk about the gimmicks, because this is an Ellusionist product, and therefore the cards are not a bicycle, or they are cohorts. So these are the gimmicks, and they give you a matching deck of cohorts to start off with. This doesn't really get used that much, so you'll be fine to keep using the same deck, and you'll just go through the gimmicks. You get lots of gimmicks, obviously. So you get 28 refills in here. You can obviously buy cohorts from me or from other magic dealers anyway. The tutorial is nicely split into chapters, easily accessible, so you can watch the performances and then you can watch the different sections of the explanation as you wish. Some are more obvious than others, and you may not really need to know how to force the card so much, so you can skip through that bit very quickly and get straight into the nitty-gritty. Michael also teaches the original Albo, and that is a very nice routine in itself, but as he says, it just requires that little an extra gaff or two, and it's a little bit more complex, and that just stopped him performing it. Whereas Albo 2.0 is very simple, it's easy, and it's direct, and it's one of those torn and restored that I can really see myself doing. The routine flows very nicely. I will be doing it with Torn and the Mace to start off with. I think the Torn and the Mace edition is really, really nice. And after Michael's tutorial, you get, well, almost bonus content, I suppose you could call it, because you've already got your value, your money's worth, is Justin Miller's handling of it. You get to see him performing it 3 times, and then he runs through his handling. His handling puts it more into the spectator's hands, and he teaches the C drop, which I think he first taught on the Angle Z project, which was for an earlier Illusionist release. And this combines very nicely with Albo. Justin's routine is a little bit more bold than Michael's, and I'm not sure it adds too much. Personally, I like the simplicity and the straightforward approach of the Ammar routine to start off with, but maybe that is just me, and it is terrific that you have the 2 options, and it gives you ideas that you might want to explore as well with these gimmicks and with the method. I really appreciate the simplicity and the directness of this, and it's very clean as well. You get nice displays throughout, and lots of little convincers throughout. It's a brilliant little project, and it is only $27.99. Next up, we have got Mental Versatile Prediction, or M.V.P, by Gonzalo Albinana. Yes, he's back. Albinana and Crazy Jokers. I've been releasing a ton of material, it seems, all of which I find very creative, but some are just a little bit weak, or the project isn't quite as thorough as I would like. This, unfortunately, is another project that doesn't have any performances on it. I would really, really love it if Gonzalo showed him actually doing it on stage, just to really give you a feel of how it plays and what it looks like. But this is a take on the ESP board that was popularized. I think UF Grant was the first person to come up with it. Kovari has got one, and Astor Magic, I believe, make one. And it's usually a piece of acrylic or perspex with slots on either side, 5 slots on each side, and some rubber bands, some elastic. And you put in your prediction cards facing one way, then people choose cards and put them in, ESP symbols, obviously, and you turn them around, and the ESP symbols all match. He has taken that premise, and which has evolved over the years from ESP slates, the old chalkboards, moved into the acrylic and everything else, and now he's taken it, and instead of all of that, he uses these. So here you see you have your 5 slots. You put numbers on here. He teaches you the setup throughout the tutorial. You actually get 2 of these, which is really nice. These are going to last you a while. You do fold them. You're going to fold them up when you travel, and when you know it fits in your pocket. So they will last, but they will last a long time. They're good, and they're all sealed up, and there's no moving parts or anything like that. So as long as you don't treat them badly, they'll last a lifetime. And what is nice is that this is taken, so normally the board would be bigger, takes up a lot of room, and it's a lot of, it's a big stage effect. He says that it looks like an odd object to have, and it is an odd object to have the regular version, but it does make sense. It does make sense, because how else are you, you know, yes, you can do it like this, obviously, but how else would you line up all of these cards and display them fairly? So although it is an object created for a reason, and the Perspex version does look super, super clean. And the Perspex version does have one advantage over this, in the fact that the elastic that is used to hold the cards in also adds to the deception. This, you don't get that deception, but fortunately, because it's a parlor stage trick, no one really gets to look that closely. So if you did show it to them close up, they could possibly be able to see something. How you draw your symbols or what you put on the back is up to you, and you can draw those in a more deceptive manner should you wish. But the routine is fairly simple. You have numbers on one side with post-it notes, or things that look like post-it notes, and you pop your cards in as your prediction, and you then have some cards mixed up, and they get inserted into the other side, and you turn it around to show that you've got a match. It is a great effect. I know a lot of mentalists who probably would perform it if it wasn't for the fact that they'd have to carry that board around. And it's not that the board looks suspicious necessarily, but it just looks old-fashioned, and it doesn't fit into many people's style. This will definitely fit into most people's style, and not only do you get that, but you also get enough of these stickers that you're going to use on the cards to last a fair while, and you also get the cards, a lot of cards, and a lot of the yellow sticker for post-it notes for numbering. And Gonzalo, in his tutorial, he talks about all of the other options. You don't have to do ESP symbols, obviously. You could just do numbers. You could do letters that spell a word. You know, perhaps if you do Wordle, he teaches a nice way of perhaps forcing a word or peeking a word and then having that appear. You can also do it with colors, objects, you know, any pictures. So it is very versatile, hence the name. But I just really like the premise, the trick. I really like. I really liked it already. It's great to see it up in a modern version. The handling and everything else is super clean, and it's very easy to spin it around as well. You know, it's not the sort of clunky board. It's very clean. You can hold it from any angle when it's loaded up. He folds it and then flips it open, which is quite a nice idea. It is $62.99, which is perhaps a little bit toppy for the materials you receive, but you do get a really, really good routine. There is some bits that I haven't mentioned in here that are the secret as well, by the way. So it's not just as simple as putting in some white cards into a plastic sleeve. And you do also get his Gonzalo's routine ideas as well. I do really, really like it. I think because it fits into your top pocket, you can fold that up, put it in your top pocket as you come on stage. You can then just pull it out, perform it, fold it up and put it away. No bag space, packs small, plays big. It is a terrific routine. It's been around for a long time, and this is just a great generation of it. It seems no Monster Magic Saturday show would be complete without a Penguin product, and this week it is the turn of Spidey and Tidal Wave. Spidey recently produced, a few years ago produced the ABC trick deck. It's been very popular, still sells, and I think it was Penguin's trick of the year. What Spidey has done with this is essentially combined two routines that have previously been out there. Twisting the Aces by Di Vernon and B-Wave by Max Maven. Both are brilliant routines. I love Twisting the Aces. I mentioned it last week. It's a lot of fun to perform, and it really does get good reactions. As magicians, I think we're very used to cards turning over and things like that, but to the layperson, it does look completely impossible. So if you don't know twisting the aces, it's not done with aces necessarily with Tidal Wave. You're not sure what cards you are going to get. Just beware. I've got queens in here, but it could be kings. It could be jacks. So there's a mix of, you're not sure what you're going to get. So in my case, I would show all of the queens face down. I would do a wave or a twist, and one of the queens would turn face up, then turn that queen face down, and another queen would turn face up, and so on until you've shown that all of them have turned face up one by one. You then turn the cards face down, put them on the table. So I'm going to do it without touching the cards, but I'm not going to decide which queen turns face up. You are. And you then go into a sort of B-wave style routine where they name any of the queens, and you spread to show that that is the queen that has turned face up. So Spidey teaches twisting the aces. It's a slightly modified handling. You've got to be aware that you've got a gimmick. So it's not quite as free to show the cards as a regular twisting the aces that uses no gimmicks, but it's still a powerful routine. And then you get into the sort of B-wave style section of the routine. What is great about B-wave is that once the card has turned face up, you can then remove it to show that you've even got a different coloured back and that all of the other cards are blank. You don't get that with this routine. You simply just get the card turning face up. But because it's part of a longer routine, you can really build it up, and it does feel very, very magical. Well, I think it's really clever to combine these two routines. There is a slight compromise, like I say, with both of them. So twisting the aces section is just as powerful as if you were doing twisting the aces. The B-wave, possibly as a trick, isn't as powerful as the genuine B-wave, but because of the setup and the premise that goes before it with the cards turning face up, I think it works really, really well. The selection of which card is face up is done in the same way as B-wave. So you've got to do it nonchalantly. It's one of those methods that seem to scare a lot of people, but if you just do it, emphasize the second bit of the selection, because that is super fair, just sort of dust over the first section, the first bit of the card. Max Maven clearly loved B-wave, so don't be too scared of the method. Just get out there and do it. So I really like it. It's $18.99, and for that you get Spidey's tutorial, obviously, and you also get the gimmick and the 3 matching cards to go with it. The only real downside for me is that the B-wave routine is slightly compromised, but in a way, because you've done twisting the cards first, they have ostensibly seen the whole of the faces of all of the cards. So with B-wave, perhaps there's a sense that they might want to be a little bit grabby at the end to check the card that they've selected, which they can't. Whereas with this, by starting with the twisting routine, you have sort of shown all of the cards to be normal without causing too much attention to it. So in a way, it makes a lot of sense to put these two routines together. I really like it. If you've got B-wave already, maybe it's not worth adding it to your collection, but otherwise it's a lovely little routine by Spidey. Distorted Visions by Jack Curtis, who is one of the founders of the 1914. This is one of the first downloads I've put on the Monster Magic website, and that is because I really think there's some material on here that is well worth learning, knowing and performing. Jack Curtis teaches 6 routines, most of which are really, really good. The first one is called Amnesia Transpo, and if you're a card person, you'll be very familiar with the 2-card transpo plot. Basically, 2 cards are signed and they change places. Sometimes it's done from the top and the bottom of from under a wine glass to the top of a wine glass. Wayne Houchin really popularised it with his kiss, where it's done from your mouth to the spectator's mouth. So Jack has taken it and uses business cards. So if you are a mentalist, it seems to me you must have a blank back on your business cards. Unfortunately, mine don't, but next time I get them printed, I think I probably will. And they can write an object or really anything, I guess, onto the business cards, and so do you, and they swap places. The method is very similar to the card trick, but Jack's emotional hook of amnesia and forgetting where you've placed stuff is brilliant. And it's very simple, very direct magic, all wrapped around this lovely plot. Really, really like it. Really enjoyed watching him perform it. And I was just, thinking that is such a great idea, such a great routine to bring that 2-card transpo and make it into something else. It just takes it away from being a card trick. Very good, very clever. The second trick is Floral Destiny, which again I liked. I'm not sure I'm going to risk doing it. So it's based around the whole free will plot. There's an element of card matching routine, plus you get a spectator to name a flower and you reveal that you've predicted that flower in advance. The plot is one of free will. It works really well. There is a psychological force for the flower that might scare some people, might make me a bit nervous. You have to try it out first, and just believe Jack when he says it works. So try it out. Fingers crossed it works. It is powerful. Psychological forces. I've never really done them, but I have had them done on me, and there just doesn't seem to be a method. So from that point of view, you create a really, really powerful effect. And the teaching of that force is sort of done in conjunction with Luch. I should have mentioned that the tutorial is Jack and Luch, and they have a little bit of discussion at times, especially with things such as this psychological force, that you would have questions, and it's nice for Luch to ask Jack those questions that you're probably thinking in your head. And then you have extra subliminal persuasion, I think it's called, which is we're getting ESP into it. And this is an ESP prediction, so you will need to make up some ESP cards. This will take a little bit of gimmick making, nothing really, just writing some things on post-it notes and having some ESP cards. I really like it. Dead easy to do, virtually self-working, and I just found it really, really enjoyable. For me, this is my kind of mentalism, something that looks like it's almost a throwaway joke, and then the kicker just blows the people's minds away. You then have Blank 2.0, which is a sort of card at any number. It's the only printed card in a blank deck, and you've also predicted the number. I like the method for the card at any number. I like it being a blank deck. Not too keen on the number prediction bit. I'm not sure it's a needed kicker. We have Law of Attraction, which is almost essentially another card trick, but done with business cards, which makes it almost impromptu as long as you've got a stack of business cards with you. It's got a nice connection with the audience member again. I don't think it's massively strong, but it's a nice routine if you've got some business cards and you want to do a little bit of impromptu mentalism. And then finally, we've got a coin trick, or it's called Silver Lining, where you ask someone you show 2 coins. You've got a copper coin and a silver coin, or a 2p and a 10p in this country. And you ask the person to guess whether or not you've got the 10p in your hand or the 2p in your hand. Then you reveal that you've on the table the whole time is a little prediction that you've written of when they'll get it right and when they'll get it wrong. It's sort of sewn up into the idea that it's a game that you never lose, and you'll always have to, you'll win. So there's a little bit of point scoring going on. It is great. It's a lovely, fun routine with a very simple gimmick. I think I've seen it before. I'm not sure how original it is, but I love the presentation that Jack does. I think it's a really engaging, fun routine, and that prediction at the end really does knock their socks off. For $19.99, you are getting 6 routines, all of which have merit, all of which are definitely good. Some just didn't appeal to me as much as others, and that is my style. But they are all direct mentalism routines that some are virtually self-working. They are easy to do, simple, impromptu. You can just use your business cards and a pen for some of them. Very, very good stuff. And finally, we have Rescue Mission by Matthew Wright. This came out a while ago, and I got this in because I saw Matthew perform it at a lecture, and I loved it. I thought it was really great. Really, really brilliant stuff. It is a stage prediction routine. You show lots of pictures of various dogs, homeless dogs, stray dogs from a dog's home that are looking to be rehomed. You run through the pictures. The audience gets to choose which dog you keep, and then you reveal that that dog, you've got a giant picture of that dog or even a cuddly toy of that dog, showing that you have predicted it. If you think along the lines of Celebrity Smartass, you'll get the idea of both the routine and probably the method. But what is so nice about this is the hook of the dogs, the idea that you know, some dogs aren't going to be homed and the audience gets to choose which one, and there's this sort of bittersweet comedy as you're going, you don't want to save him, okay, and you put him in a bin or throw them away. Matthew took these photos of these dogs. Matthew is passionate about homeless dogs and strays and so on, and rescue dogs. So it's very close to his heart, which is a good tip if you're going to make some magic for yourself. But you can use that, you can steal that, and you can create this emotional bond with your audience. And you get to engage all of the audience, as you can go around the room asking people if they want to keep the dog or not. Matthew talks about which demographics to ask, how to keep the routine moving on. And that is really, really great, useful pieces of information. He also talks about some of the props and how they come about and how they're very, very specific. Matthew has been performing this for a very long time, and he thinks about everything. He's a very deep thinker in World of Magic, and this hook of these dogs is just genius. And what you get in here is everything. Essentially, you get a mass of you get the big prediction photographs, which is why this envelope is so big. You get all of the lots and lots of the dog photographs, and you also get something for you to gimmick it all with. And that means that even if you don't want to use the dogs, you don't want to use Matthew's plot, you can also customize it. Once you know the method, you can customize it. If you want to do it with something else, then you can. You also get a video download, which is the sort of rescue mission appeal. So that is a really nice thing to play if you want to play that before you do the trick, to really get people's hearts connected, to really play on the idea that these are rescued dogs. I think it's an absolutely terrific routine. It has these emotions of, I'm sure, you know, the audience will be divided as to whether or not they should be laughing or whether they should be crying. It is really, really nice. It's a bit of a, yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster. It's fun to perform. It's very easy to do. And like I say, once you've got it, you can pop to, you know, your local Snappy Snaps or your photo print shop, and you can make up one that perhaps if you wanted to do it with a photograph of your own dog or anything like that, you'd be able to do that. It's all taught really well. Matthew goes into a great amount of detail. It's him and Tom Crosby on the tutorial chatting through some of the finer points of the trick. If you are a stage magician, I think it's just one of those tricks that you can change the pace of the show with, really build a connection with your audience. And because you are darting around from one section of the audience to another, it does feel like the whole room is included. Great routine. It is an absolute snip for what you get at $41.99. And that's it for another Saturday show, I'm afraid, but I will be back next week. Please do subscribe if you can, if you have got a YouTube account. I am on 495 subscribers. I would love it if I got to 500 by this time next week. And again, all of the thumbs up, I do count them. I'm looking every 30 seconds to see how these videos perform. Today and tomorrow I find very stressful. So please, if you do like it, let me know, and leave a comment if you've got any questions or any advice for anybody else. And until next week, thank you very much.